Hey everybody, JCB here at the Awesomist, and you're watching the Awesomist YouTube channel. So this is part 2 of my 2018 summer vacation to the great state of Missouri. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, you can do so by clicking the link at the end of this video or in the description below. That being said, let's jump right into day 3 of this adventure and day 2 of Silver Dollar City. We woke up at 9 a.m. feeling kind of exhausted from the day before and went to breakfast at a place called McFarland's, which had really high reviews on Yelp, but was just kind of okay. While we were at breakfast, my wife got a text from her boss about business stuff, so we had to run back to the hotel for about an hour while she pulled out her laptop and handled all the work things. This meant we got a bit of a late start to the park, arriving around 11 a.m. This time we went straight to the counter and paid for our lantern tour, which again was at 5 o'clock, and we also bought tickets for a 2 p.m. regular tour, just so we could see everything again, this time with fresh batteries in the camera. Also on day 2, in order to try to help with the whole feeling lost thing, we downloaded the Silver Dollar City app, which was not super helpful. It works more like a paper map than, say, Google Maps or Waze. And by that I mean, instead of the map rotating around your current position based on which direction you're facing, you just have this little dot indicator with an arrow that kind of just rotates in place, which gets really confusing. Universal Studios does the same thing with their app, and it's very frustrating. I absolutely hate it because what happens is you end up having to try to figure out what landmarks are where, and then walk towards those landmarks and check the slowly updating app to see if you are indeed walking towards that landmark, and 9 times out of 10, you aren't. Anyway, for day 2, we had 5 major goals. Number 1, ride Outlaw Run, which had been closed the entire day before. Number 2, ride Time Traveler again and get some POV footage. Number 3, ride Fire in the Hole, which people kept talking about. Number 4, do the Lantern Cave Tour. And number 5, have as much fun as possible. So we checked the app and it said Outlaw Run was open and only had a 5-minute wait. So we somehow found our way over there because again, the map is useless and it wasn't open, and there was a lady standing in front of the door, kind of just blocking everybody, telling them to go away because it's closed. We asked her how long is it going to be before it's open, and she told us to download the app. So I told her the app says that it's open and that there's a 5-minute wait, and she went like this. So we headed over to Time Traveler, which had just opened and only had a 15-minute wait. Time Traveler is an awesome roller coaster. I was concerned the first time I rode it because I thought it would be more like a large-scale version of Pandemonium at Six Flags Over Texas and that I'd get dizzy. But it mostly just turns you left and right more than it actually spins you around. About halfway through the ride, you come to a brake run and completely stop. It was at this moment that the kid in front of us started freaking out. After a few seconds, the ride launches you through the second half of the track. It's quite a fun ride, and I would absolutely love it if a coaster like this came to Magic Mountain. So Time Traveler was checked off the list. After Time Traveler, we checked the app again, and it said Outlaw Run was open and had a 10-minute wait. So we raced back over there, and it was still closed. The app is useless. Next, we went on the Flooded Mine, which is kind of like It's a Small World featuring prisoners and guns. You have a zapper, kind of like the Justice League Battle for Metropolis ride, but it looks like a revolver, and you float around shooting prisoners in a flooded mine shaft. It was kind of boring. The zappers didn't work half the time, and it was just an odd ride altogether. After that, we headed back to Outlaw Run again just to see if it was open, and it was not. But people around us were talking about how it was just open, and they ran like 2 trains, and then they closed it down again. So we decided, you know what, it's hot, we're sweaty, let's just go get some tea, we'll sit down right here and wait for the ride to open. After about 45 minutes, it did open. Outlaw Run is an RMC coaster like Twisted Colossus, but quite a bit rougher. It has some good twists and turns and some near-miss elements. I still prefer Twisted Colossus, but I'm definitely glad we waited for our chance to ride Outlaw Run because it closed down again on and off for the rest of the day, and it was a good ride. At this point, we headed back to the front of the park for our 2 p.m. regular tour of the cave, this time with fresh batteries in both my phone and my camera. When you first enter the cave, you end up on a platform several hundred feet above what they call the Cathedral Room, for obvious reasons.
One, two, three.
Yeah! You then walk down several flights of stairs and ramps, all the way down to the floor of the Cathedral Room. Once you're down there, it's crazy how far up that platform looks. Tour guides are really informative and entertaining, and most of the tour is on fairly level ground, and there are only a few places where you really have to duck to make your way through to the next area. As you can see, the tour groups are pretty large, so sometimes it feels less like you're exploring than you're just following a line of people, but it's still an amazing experience. It's really cool to see a real-life version of something other parks fake for theming purposes. Toward the bottom, there's this pool where water is dripping through the rocks and collects. There's so much falling water at certain parts of the tour that it sounds like it's raining inside the cave. If you pay attention to your guide, you can learn a lot about the different rock formations that are growing inside the cave. We also learned about white nose syndrome, which is a disease that's affecting bats all over the country. There are also several parts of the tour where you can see that the cave goes down even further than it would be safe to take a tour group. And at the end of the tour, they pile everyone into a big red tram, climbs out of the cave, back to the top of the hill. The Marble Cave Tour is an amazing experience and definitely worth the trip out to Silver Dollar City all on its own. They call it Marble Cave because it used to be called Marble Cave because one of the first people to explore it actually thought that there was a big old slab of marble above their head. So they built like this whole mining town and like started getting everything together to mine all this marble without actually hiring a geologist to tell them whether or not that's marble. And it turned out it was limestone. But then they actually, there's a little bit of a twist to that story that I don't want to give away here. Go on the tour. We'll figure out why the cave ended up being successful anyway, and it's a pretty cool story. Needless to say, we were super excited to do the Lantern Tour that night, but in the meantime, we had some tickets to conquer Fire in the Hole. This ride is odd and requires a bit of a crash course history lesson about the bald knobbers. What the heck is a bald knobber, you ask? This is a bald knobber. This guy that looks like he has a baby doll's outfit stuck on his face is a bald knobber. These guys are outlaws who met on the bald spot of a nearby mountain, thus their namesake. They would rape and pillage and cause general mayhem in the Ozarks way back in the day. They once set fire to the town, and that's what Fire in the Hole is about. The ride is a roller coaster that goes about 2 miles per hour through most of its duration, as it tells the story of the bald knobber setting fire to the town and generally wrecking havoc. It was so silly, we were laughing the entire time and didn't think it could get any better. And then the train part happened. You see a light moving in the distance coming right towards you, but then as you get closer, you can see that it's clearly just a light, like swinging back and forth. It looks like a flashlight on a string. Really hilarious. Anyway, this hilarious moment is followed by a surprising drop and a short roller coaster experience in pitch black darkness that ends in a splashdown. We rode that ride twice because it was so much fun. Once in the very front seat and once in the very back seat. And I gotta say, the back seat is much rougher. It actually left a big bruise on my wife's leg, which kind of sucked. Anyway, after we were done with that, it was right about 4 o'clock because the line for Fire in the Hole was so long, and we decided to go back up and check on our lantern tour because we had heard murmurs of a big storm coming. People all over the park were starting to freak out a little bit, so we went up to check on our lantern tour tickets, and the guy behind the counter seemed equally freaked out and informed us that the tour was canceled due to a huge storm coming right over the park. Now, obviously, you don't want to be underground when a big storm hits and water comes pouring in. So we understood the situation, got our refund, and it was right about that time that they announced over loudspeakers that the entire park was closing down due to a storm that was right above them. Now, we've never been to Missouri before. Maybe they have really bad, crazy storms. So we decided, crap, we better leave too, especially if they're closing anyway. So we go to leave, and of course you have to exit through the gift shop because it's a theme park. And there's actually this path that we took the day before, which leads you around all the merchandise and then out the exit door. And if you follow the path, you find your way right to the exit. And it works fairly well on a normal day. And then once you're out of the gift shop, there's basically 2 exits, one on the left and one on the right. The one on the left leads to this little like waiting area where you can wait for a tram that'll drive you over to your car area. And the one on the right is just a door that leads you out to the parking lot so you can walk to your car, which is what we wanted to do. Well, today the gift shop was jam-packed with people, and I mean jam-packed. The entire sales floor was stuffed with people who were freaking out. Grown-ass people having panic attacks, women with tears running down their face and saying things like, please, I'm just trying to get out. I'm just trying to leave. Like, no duh, we're all trying to leave. You think we're all in here because the prices are so amazing? No. We're all trying to leave. The park's closing. We want to go home. This is particularly annoying because right before you get into the gift shop to exit, there's actually a big old row of turnstiles that the park uses as an entrance. And if they wanted to let people leave efficiently, they could have opened up all those turnstiles and had like 6 lanes for people to just stream out of the park, and it would have been really helpful on a day like this. But instead, there was a severe bottleneck because there's only those 2 doors to exit the gift shop. And then remember how I told you in the last video that a lot of people we came across seem to wait to the absolute last minute to decide to think about the decision they're going to make. Like, If they're gonna go on a ride, they wait till they're all the way through the ride queue and almost getting on the ride before they block the aisle and have a conversation. Well, that was happening again here. As I mentioned, there's two doors, one on the left, one on the right. The one on the right goes straight to the parking lot where you can walk, and the one on the left goes to a little waiting area for the tram. Basically, out of the thousands of people who wanted to exit the park at that moment, 99.9% of them wanted to ride the tram because it was raining, but instead of reading the signs and getting in the proper line, they'd exit out the right and then decide, oh crap, it's cold out here. Let's turn around and go against traffic of people trying to get out because they too are stupid, and then try to merge over into the other side where there's no room because people are waiting for a tram. It took us about 45 minutes to get out of the gift shop. By the way, this is actual footage of what the storm looked like outside. This is nothing. I live in the desert in California, and we get storms like this routinely. Here's a random storm like a week after we got back, which I decided to film because it's tame, but actually worse than what we experienced at Silver Dollar City. Yet people were freaking out. It felt like we were in a disaster movie, in which the disaster was overblown and stupid. All this freak out over light rain and some wind. Heck, the average wind speed where I live is 17 miles per hour, which is way faster than whatever this was. Once we got outside and ready to walk to our car, we couldn't because there was a large group of people standing at the edge of the sidewalk confused about what to do because they were already outside. So instead of like trying to get around this blockade of people, we just kind of hopped over this little like 3-foot brick wall off to the side and walked to our car. Fucking bald knobbers. So we had a nice calm drive through the rain back to our hotel, got in our room, changed into some pajamas, took stock of our day, and then took a nap. Here's how we did on our list. Ride Outlaw Run, which had been closed the entire day before, check. Ride Time Traveler again and get some POV footage, check. Ride Fire in the Hole, which people kept raving about, check. Do the Lantern Cave Tour, no checky there. Have as much fun as possible, check. Later that night we had dinner at a place called Paschetti's. And yes, that's what it's called, and yes, that's pretty cool. They have this big meatball out front and it's themed like a city inside. We got some really good alcoholic drinks that our waiter put in to-go cups for us as we were leaving, which is totally not legal, but awesome. And I made this Pac-Man gif with my wife. After that, we were kind of bummed about our day being cut short at the park, so we decided to ride the Branson roller coaster. The Branson roller coaster is a single rider roller coaster, unless you want to bring a little kid. It's considered a double alpine coaster, in which you control the speed of your car by pushing forward or pulling back on two levers. It features 2 drops, and was a fun way to end our time in Branson. I think that's a good place to pause. In the next video, we drive 4 hours up to Eureka, Missouri to go to Six Flags St. Louis. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time, keep being awesome. Typically it's near a sign like this where you'll encounter groups of people deciding whether or not they want to go on a ride, usually off to the side. But not at Silver Dollar City. No, at Silver Dollar City they walk underneath that sign, through most of the empty queue, get all the way up to the front, and then block the aisle while they have a big discussion on whether or not they want to go on the ride that they've already entered. Next up